Okay, I am hoping you saw that I was able to post the recording of Tuesday's class out on Moodle. Moodle doesn't give me a lot of memory so that I can't post directly to Moodle. So what I ended up doing was taking the class record and putting it out as a YouTube video, and then putting the link to the YouTube video out there so you could watch this. So anybody that needs to, or anybody that missed the class, has the ability to actually see it. Anybody that thinks that there was something important that they want to go back and look for that's out there, that's fine also. All right, so let me get back to Moodle myself here and bring up attendance so I can take attendance as I am supposed to do. All right, Nevaeh Arnold. Not there. Jacob Blackburn.
Here.
Good. Melina Buffalini.
Here.
All right. Juliana Ely, excuse me.
Here.
Okay. Devin Givengo. Devin, you out there today? Okay. Autumn Gorley.
Here.
Okay. Emily Grandy.
Here.
Okay. Raymond Jackson. Raymond? No. Okay. Jason Masciantonio. Jason? No. Okay. Bennett Medlin.
Here.
Thank you. Jacob Masinsik. Jacob? No. Okay. Madison Murray.
Here.
All right. Cora Post.
Here.
Okay. Joseph Shoemaker, excuse me.
Here.
Okay. Austin Seco.
Here.
River Sorg.
Here.
Okay. Lawrence Thompson. No. Okay. Walter Tolliver. No Walter. Sayun
Here.
Okay. And Tyler, you are here. Jacob entered the waiting room, so we'll let him in. That's what we'll do. And we'll also count him as being here. All right, so that was attendance. All right, so I want to continue on with the things that we were talking about last class. Want to be a little bit more focused today. Pick out a few things from the book to talk about, and then I want to actually start another little exercise that I like to do here. But let me see. There we go. All right, so give me a second to get back to where I need to be on this. That's too far. All right, so communications, business communications, that's the topic that we want to sort of focus on here. And last time we talked about, I had asked you your input on this as to what type of communication you would be seeing. All kinds of different things that are out there that are important. And just looking at that. We talked about emails, we talked about reports, we talked about water cooler talk, we talked about presentations. You know, there's all kinds of communications. And I think in order to really be the best success that you can be, you need to be able to master all of them. Just looking through some of the things that the book wants to talk about in the very introductory chapter, it gives a definition of what communication is. And communication, it says, is the process of transferring information and meaning between senders and receivers using one or more media and communication channels. All right, that makes sense. And then they give an interesting little diagram in the book that I'm looking at, and it's two different people talking. The first one says, the new app is on schedule. So that's the person who's transmitting the meaning. And so the person that's hearing, what they're thinking is, great, it's on schedule and I don't need to worry. The second example, we have the sender of information saying, everything is fine. Well, 2 designers quit, but I'm trying to replace them. Now that is kind of a communication that will be kind of confusing. What does that actually mean, to the boss? Are you all right? Are you on schedule? Should I be worrying? Really, this is what the book says, that the boss is thinking, are you worried about anything? So are you still on schedule? But now is there some sort of a opportunity for a slip up? The third example they give is the sender saying, I think everything's fine. And you have the boss thinking, oh no, he doesn't sound confident or in control of the project. So you have the same 2 people talking, and you have 3 different ways of it being said, one of which was very concise and very to the point. The new app is on schedule. And that's all he said. And that made the boss feel comfortable, believing that everything was under control and he didn't have to worry about anything. The second person saying, everything's fine. Well, I lost a couple of programmers. It was like, well, that's kind of a confused meaning there. So that was not an effective type of communication. And the third one saying, I think everything's fine. You didn't have the confidence that you needed in order to put your boss's mind at ease. A communication like that probably just invites either more questions from your boss or more oversight from your boss. So those are things that you should be kind of aware of. Communication is important to your company, says the book, and effective communication yields numerous business benefits. So let's see what the book talks about. It yields a stronger sense of trust between individuals and organizations. It gives closer ties with important communities in the marketplace. It gives opportunities to influence conversations, perceptions, and trends. It gives increased productivity and faster problem solving. It gives better financial results and higher return for investors. It gives earlier warning of potential problems, from increasing business costs to critical safety issues. It gives stronger decision-making based on timely, reliable information. It gives clearer and more persuasive marketing messages. It gives greater employee engagement with their work, leading to higher employee satisfaction and lower employee turnover. Now, that's a heck of a list of very, very good things that we're saying good communications will do for you. So let's just take a look at a few of those and see if we agree that effective communication can do this. Can effective communication create a stronger sense of trust between individuals and organizations? A stronger sense of trust. What do you think, Tyler?
I have no idea.
Well, think about it. If you are in charge of, let's do it from purely an employer-employee relationship. If you are communicating with your boss, and your boss is the type of person who is who's talented at communication and able to give, when he speaks to you, he's able to be very concise. The 3 C's that I keep talking about: clear, concise, and complete. So your boss comes to you and says, hey, listen, I need for you to have that project done no later than Friday, 5 o'clock, end of business Friday. And you know what the project is, okay? Is that better than having a boss say, hey, I need to have that project as soon as you can? Because see, if the boss is unclear about what his expectations are, does that put you at a disadvantage?
Yes, it does. I have my experience. I like a boss that's extremely straightforward.
Which is a very good thing.
Yeah, I've had both ends of the spectrum, where I've had bosses that don't really tell me what to do, and then I wind up getting fired because of their own negligence. And then But I also have had bosses that were way too strict with deadlines and stuff and didn't give you enough time to do things.
Sure, we can talk about whether they're reasonable or not, you know, and that's a whole different question. That's a management issue, but you know, you shouldn't lose your job over a communication issue. You know, and that's the whole point that I think I'm making there, is that if you have a boss that's communicating with you and he says, "Hey, give me that project as soon as you can," but he, in his mind, he wants it Friday, you know, end of business, and as soon as you can, in your mind is, oh, I'll get it to you by Tuesday. That's fine. So you turn the project in on Tuesday, and the boss, you know, he's just livid because I wanted this on Friday. Well, he never told you that, did he? That's the problem. You know, so I think poor communication can lead to significant issues, whereas, you know, the other side of it is good communications can lead to better relationships between individuals. And think of it in terms of, you know, if you had a supplier for your company that you needed to have a particular raw material at a very specific time in order to be able to continue the manufacturing run that you're on, and you're not clear with what date and time you need the product, and they aren't necessarily being bad, they just didn't know what your expectations were. Well, I think that can be an issue, you know, and I think that can create trust issues. So can communications create a better sense of trust between people and organizations? Sure, I think that's true. Closer ties with important communities in the marketplace, opportunities to influence conversations, perceptions, and trends, increase productivity and faster problem solving. Let's look at that one. Can better communication increase productivity and make for faster problem solving? Well,
yes.
Yeah, I think so. You know, once again, if somebody really understands what the expectations are, then they can work harder to get there. And beyond that, if you've had a good sense of communication with them and they end up having knowledge that, you know, well, how about a boss that keeps you in the dark about certain aspects of a project that you're working on? Okay, this is your part of the project. That's all you need to know, and I'm not going to share anything else with you. Well, if you knew what other people's needs were, then you might be able to tailor your work better. You could probably solve a problem that would come up. So once again, I think communication can easily do that. Better financial results and higher return for investors. Okay, you know, I think good communication, if as opposed to bad communication, I think it sure can make a difference in the profitability of a company. Earlier warning of potential problems for increased business costs or critical safety issues. If people are communicating, if they're talking and really have the ability to express their concerns, then I believe that that's another one of those things where we can have that happen. What was I going to say about that? Yeah. Stronger decision-making based on timely, reliable information, clearer and more persuasive marketing messages, and greater employee engagement with their work, leading to higher employee satisfaction and lower employee turnover. Okay, I'm good with that. The book agrees partially with me on what I think is the most important part of business communications. Mine is clear, concise, and complete. The book says practical, factual, concise, clear, and persuasive. So mine is clear, concise, and complete. They could replace my complete with practical, factual, and persuasive. So I can't argue with them. Those are all some very good things. I really like mine because it's just a little easier to remember. Clear, concise, and complete. The book then goes through a description of these various types of things. I'm getting a ton of emails. I should probably check and see if anything's important. Okay, Walter is in attendance. Okay, that's fine. I'll change that. Right. Okay, that's fine. All right, so back to what we were talking about. All right, the book goes through a definition of each of those elements that they talk about as being important. And what I want to do is I want to go over their definition of concise, because I think that we really need to have, as a class, that's the one thing that we're really going to be working on, is how to be concise, how to make the message as short as possible. So what the book talks about in concise is present information in a concise, efficient manner. Concise messages show respect for the people's time, and they increase the chances of a positive response. Do your best to simplify complex subjects to help your readers, and make sure you don't inadvertently complicate simple subjects through careless writing. The ability to explain a complex subject in simple terms is immensely valuable, whether you're training new employees or pitching a business plan to investors. Doesn't matter how complicated what you're doing or how important what you're doing is, the more concise that you can be, the shorter you can make it while still keeping it complete. You know, I'm not saying to sacrifice one in favor of the other, but always remember, you have a much better chance. They say you have a much better chance of getting a positive result. I don't know if I believe that necessarily. I guess I can see how they say that, but you have a much better chance of somebody actually reading what it is you're putting together or listening to what you have to say. Okay, so I do agree with that. Now, one of the things that the book does is, and I think this is pretty effective, they'll put in some examples of writing, basically a good example and a bad example. So what I'm looking at, and I'm just gonna, I have to expand it on my page here because it's too small for me to read. All right, so here's an email that goes out from the boss about a meeting that everybody wants to go, that she wants everybody to go to. So here's the email. Just listen to it and we'll discuss it. All. The consultant we discussed at last week's status meeting is available to meet Thursday. This guy has helped a number of customer service organizations, and he'll be able to give us some advice and figure out what our needs are. Let's not waste this opportunity to learn more about social media tools for customer service. I'd like everyone to prepare some intelligent questions ahead of time. We will forward them to Mr. Johnson so that he can think about them before the meeting. I was rather disappointed last time we brought in an expert like this. I have to beg these people to talk to us, and most of you just sat and stared during the Q&A session. Details, Tuesday, 10 a.m. to whenever, Mount Shasta room. I consider it very important for everyone on the team to be at this meeting. But if you won't attend, at least try to phone in so you can hear what's going on. Cheryl. P.S. This guy is supposedly really sharp, so let's all be on our toes. Okay, that's what the book puts out there as a bad email. And here's what the by the way, the subject line on the email was social media strategy. Okay, so here's the criticisms that the authors give. A, the subject line is too vague. It really doesn't tell people how important this message is, at least to the boss. The second thing, the greeting is cold and off-putting. If you can remember, it was all, comma. C, the opening paragraph fails to provide necessary background information for anyone who missed the meeting. So she talks about the fact that, though the consultant we talked about at the last meeting is going to be available, this guy, you know, I hate that kind of language. This guy has helped. If you're not really in the loop on this, you have no idea who they're talking about. So that's a real problem for me. D, a negative accusatory tone puts readers on the defensive, and the request for action fails to clarify who needs to do what and by when. So accusatory tone, where she says, most of you just sat and stared during the Q&A session. Well, that's very accusatory. And basically, when you read something like that, what's it going to do? What does that do to your attitude about this whole thing, about this email, this message, and about the meeting that you're being asked to go to? She also then talks about if you can't make it, then you should call in. Who should be there? There's a lack of definiteness. E, the meeting information includes the day, but not the date, which could lead to confusion. So details, Tuesday, 10 a.m., Mount Shasta room. That is a problem. You know, we assume that she's talking about the next Tuesday in line. So wherever this actually comes to you, you probably have that. What if you were away from the office for a few days and you didn't get this meeting until after this email until after the meeting occurred? You may think that it's the next Tuesday, and it could really screw up your schedule. So it doesn't cost a lot of extra effort to be clear. Okay, that's one of the issues with clarity. You know, it's one of my C's: clear, concise, complete. Clear. Tuesday. When's Tuesday? What Tuesday are we talking about? Okay, so there are certain things that you have the ability to do. You have the ability to put the date in right there, so there's no confusion. Tuesday could be confusing. The wording here assumes that people who won't attend don't want to, which might not be true. The writer also fails to invite questions ahead of the meeting. This is, I consider important for everyone in the team to be here, but if you won't attend, at least try to phone in. So is it a mandatory meeting? Is it not a mandatory meeting? Does she care? Does she not care? Once again, the wording is kind of bad. The lack of a closing, such as thank you, contributes to the harsh, abrupt tone. She didn't. She just threw her at the end of the message, she just wrote Cheryl, or Sherry. I can't tell it right here. And finally, the writer fails to provide alternative contact information or invite questions about the meeting. She ends with, I consider it important for everyone on the team to be at this meeting, but if you won't attend, at least try to phone in so you can hear what's going on. Sherry, and then it's PS, this guy's supposedly really sharp. So there's no closing, no thank you, no closing. And then no request for people to contact her if there are questions. So not a good memo. You know, this is an email. And I know that in our lives, we consider emails to be something that we really don't have to worry about all that much. We get away with a lot of abbreviations. We get away with a lot of slang language. But in a business sense, an email is something that is a permanent record. First off, the companies do keep all records of all of the emails that are sent on their server. And beyond that, this is real legitimate business communication. So you should have your game on. You should really be trying to make this work the best you can, to be as professional and look as good as you can, even if it's just an email. People are reading this. Okay, let's look at what the authors think is an effective version of this memo or email. Subject line is social media strategy meeting Tuesday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And it begins with, hi team, comma. The customer service consultant we discussed at last week's status meeting is available to meet with us next Tuesday at 10 o'clock a.m. For those of you who missed the meeting, Walter Johnson has helped a number of organizations use social media tools to improve customer service programs. He's agreed to spend several hours with us to answer any questions we have about these technologies. This meeting is a great opportunity for us to learn about important innovations in customer service. So let's make sure we get the most out of it. I'd like each of the project leaders to brainstorm with your groups and prepare questions that are relevant to your specific parts of the social media project. Please email these questions to pete.laws@supremco.com by the end of the day Thursday, and he'll forward them to Mr. Johnson before the meeting. Details, Tuesday, March 12th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., Mount Shasta room. We're ordering in sandwiches. Please register your choice on the intranet by Monday at 5 p.m. For those of you who can't attend in person, please dial in on the conference line. You'll be able to see the PowerPoint slides via WebEx as usual. If you have any questions about the meeting, feel free to drop by my office anytime on Friday. Thanks, Sherry. And then below that is her actual, there's the sort of heading that you can put on your emails. Sherry Washington, Group Manager, comma, Retail Systems, Office, and it gives a phone number, and Mobile, it gives a phone number. So this is considerably better. It's considerably more professional. Let's see what the author thinks about with this. An informative subject line helps people grasp important details immediately. So the subject line here is Social Media Strategy Meeting, Tuesday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So it's a little bit more in depth. Because all of you, I know that when I go to look at my email here at the end of the day, I'm going to have probably a minimum of 30 or 40 emails. Probably 15 of them I can just plain old delete because I know that it's just either somebody trying to sell me something or some sort of a scam that's going on, and I can tell that by the subject line. The remaining, say, 25 emails that are there, I'm going to look at what's in the subject line, and I'm going to determine who gets my attention first based on what which ones I think are important. Okay, so do spend a little bit of time worrying about what your subject, your in regard to line looks like. Okay, the greeting here is friendly without being too casual. In the bad email, it was all, comma. In this one, it's hi team, comma. Okay. The opening paragraph fills in missing information so that everyone can grasp the importance of the message. Now, from the first memo, I didn't really understand that having somebody come in and talk to us about social media platforms was important to us at all. But in this second email, it is clear that we have a project going on where we're trying to incorporate more social media communication into our marketing aspects. So I now know this is an important meeting as opposed to an unimportant meeting. Next piece of information, the upbeat paragraph emphasizes the positive value of the meeting, and the request provides enough information to enable readers to respond. So that's the one where it talks about learning about important innovations. Let's make the most of it. Have your project leaders get together with your teams to brainstorm questions, to ask the expert, so on. The date eliminates scheduling uncertainty. So in this one, it says details Tuesday, March 12th. Once again, I don't see why you couldn't have put the year there. That wouldn't bother me as far as conciseness, because I consider that to be part of completeness. I guess March 12th shouldn't be something that's too confusing if you're reading through your emails, on a regular basis. But I just don't understand why, if you have the information, you wouldn't put it down. And I'm going to come back to that in a couple of minutes. The writer offers everyone a chance to participate without making anyone feel guilty about not being able to attend in person. The closing paragraph invites questions ahead of time so they don't derail the meeting. The way this one, if you remember the bad email, it says, if you won't attend, which is sort of, you look at the connotation of that, what's the hidden meaning? Won't attend means you don't want to attend. This one says, for those of you who can't attend, meaning I understand that there might be other important things that come up, but you can still call in and look at the PowerPoint, so on and so forth. Can't versus won't. One word changed the tone of that paragraph dramatically. Like the greeting, the closing has a warm and personal tone without being too casual. She ends with thanks, comma, Sherry. And then the email signature provides additional information and alternative contact options. That's where it says Sherry Washington, Group Manager, and gives her office and mobile telephone number. So that's an example of a good email and a bad email. All right. All right. I'd expanded my screen so much I lost my arrow. All right, communicating as a professional. And that's one of the things that I had said earlier is that we want to come across as professional. We want people to respect us, and we're going to talk about that a lot during the semester also. We're going to talk about knowing your audience a lot during this semester. We're going to talk about them having respect for you. You have to create credibility in your communication, okay? If you don't create the credibility, then no matter what it is that you're saying, they're not going to believe it, or they're not going to believe it's important. So credibility is something that we strive to achieve in our communication. And it doesn't matter what type of communication, whether it's written or oral, it's all the same. So credibility is important. Professionalism is part of that credibility. If you come across as a professional, then you start gaining credibility. Your message becomes more important. Your message becomes something that people want to listen to, okay? Professionalism is the quality of performing at a high level and conducting oneself with purpose and pride. I like that. Conducting yourself with purpose and pride. True professionals go beyond minimum expectations and commit to making meaningful contributions. Professionalism can be broken down into 6 distinctive traits. 1, striving to excel. 2, being dependable and accountable. 3, being a team player. 4, demonstrating a sense of etiquette. 5, making ethical decisions. And 6, maintaining a positive outlook. Excuse me. So I want to talk about those 6 elements of being a professional. Striving to excel, being dependable and accountable, being a team player, demonstrating a sense of etiquette, making ethical decisions, and maintaining a positive outlook. Now, the book goes on to say, it's amazing that communications can lead to a very big development of each of those 6 different elements. For example, be respectful. Good business etiquette is a sign of respect for those around you. Respecting others is not only good, it's good for your career. Be positive. You owe it to yourself and your colleagues and your company to maintain a positive outlook even when the going gets tough. Be a team player. I don't want to go through all 6 in their definitions, but once again, communication is an important part of all of this. Now, understanding what employers expect from you. Today's employers expect you to be competent at a wide range of communication tasks and skills. So let's see what they have to say about that. Here is a list of the various skills or tasks that they expect, that your employer will expect you to be able to do. Recognizing information needs and using sufficient search techniques to locate reliable sources of information, particularly online, and using gathered information ethically. This collection of skills is often referred to as digital information fluency. Second one, organizing ideas and information logically and completely. Organization. We're going to talk about that a lot. Just as a little side spot here, how do you organize? How do you organize communication? What do you think, Autumn? How do you organize your information for communication purposes?
I guess like keeping like all your emails in the same place, like in the same kind of folder, type of
Okay.
thing.
Well, let's say that you were asked to put together some sort of report, a 2-page report on something. How would you organize your thoughts?
Kind of like how, I mean, just how they formatted us to do like essays and all throughout school. Like you'd start with your introduction, then go into your main points, and then at the end you're gonna wrap everything up in like a summary. So then, everyone knew
Okay.
what you.
Okay, that's legit. I can accept that. Anybody else have any other idea on how you would organize? Autumn's answer is correct, but there's a more in-depth way that I'm thinking. And when I say this, you're all going to groan. Outline. So you all have you're all on mute, so I didn't hear the collective groan that came from you, but or outlines. Outlines are important. And I remember when I was in school, and I remember the various writing classes where the teacher was requiring us to put an outline together. And I remember very distinctly, that I had teachers that would require us to follow an exact form. We had to have, this much spacing and this much indentation and bullet points and, all these different things and, bold print and underline and all to put together for an outline. Yeah, okay. I don't think an outline has to be any kind of formal thing, but I will tell you right now that outlining your work, especially when you get into things that are going to be very complicated, where at the end of this semester, you're going to be doing a report, which is going to be a minimum of, around 10 pages long, which will have 4 major points that you need to discover with multiple minor points underneath those 4 major points. So there's going to be a lot of information. How do you keep track of it? How do you put it together in such a way that it makes sense? Okay, because see, you don't want to fall into the trap where you end up with just a stream of consciousness, where you just sit in front of the computer and you just type away, type. Oh, an idea came into my head, type. Oh, here's another idea, type. Well, that stream of consciousness, it probably gets everything down on paper, but the problem with it is it's not organized in any intelligent fashion. And so I am going to suggest, I'm not going to ever collect anything on this, and I don't care how formal or informal your outlines are. I'm definitely going to suggest that an outline will help you with many of the assignments that you will have in this class. And I don't care how you jot it down. I don't care what your outline looks like, as long as it is a tool for you, because outlining your thoughts is the best way to make sure that you get onto paper or you get into your presentation what you want. If you don't outline, you're going to forget things. If you don't outline, you're going to take things in a haphazard pattern. If you don't outline, you're not going to look professional. Plain and simple. It's a neat tool to use. It really isn't going to cost you that much extra time. But once you sit down and you outline something, like I said, the major project at the end of the semester is going to be 4 major questions that you have to answer. You're going to do research so that you can do the answers to those questions. And you're going to have a ton of research. Now, to be honest with you, it's going to be a very easy research, but you're going to have a ton of information. Before you sit down and try to write the actual report, you should organize your material. This is the information I have that all refers to question 1. This is the information that refers to question 2. So now I'll take a look at, I have 6 major points under question 1. Well, do I need all 6? Well, these 2 here, they don't look important, so I'm going to toss those out. I have 4 talking points under question 1. There's your outline. Question 1, points 1, 2, 3, and 4. And maybe you have to be careful in what order you put them. So maybe it shouldn't be 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe it should be 1, 4, 2, 3 or something like that. But you figure that out. You decide. You organize it. Okay. use it. Please use an outline because it will create the professionalism that you're looking for. All right. Expressing ideas and information coherently, persuasively, and concisely. Actively listening to others. Communicating effectively with people from diverse backgrounds and experiences. Remember, these are all things that your employer expects you to be able to do. Using communication technologies effectively and efficiently. Following accepted standards of grammar, spelling, and other aspects of high quality writing and speaking. Communicating in a civilized manner that reflects contemporary expectations of business etiquette, even when dealing with indifferent or hostile audiences. Civilized manner. In the business world, you should not lose your mind. You should not lose your temper. You should not get angry. You should not, you should not be abusive to anybody that you're communicating with, whether it's in writing or orally. Now, in writing, you've had a chance to cool down before you write it, but if you're having a conversation directly with somebody, either face-to-face or over the telephone or whatnot, you have to keep your head on. Communicating ethically, even when choices aren't crystal clear, or you have to share news that people don't want to hear. I'm going to give you an example here. And this went toward my credibility and my professionalism. When I was a young lawyer and I was working at the firm that I was working for, I would end up, my job ended up being twofold. Being a young associate attorney, I was expected to have my own work, so I would have that. But then I would also end up doing a lot of the grunt work for the higher ups, the managing partners and attorneys in the firm. So I was a busy person. And I had a client come in and sit with me in my office, and we sat down, and there was something they wanted me to do. And I told them very clearly that I couldn't do what they wanted me to do. It wasn't going to work. It was going to be a complete waste of time and money, and I wasn't going to do it. But I did offer to write a letter threatening the people that they wanted to have do something. Because see, occasionally people, there are still people out there in the world that if you get a formal letter from a lawyer, it scares you, and maybe you do the right thing. So we'll do that. We'll write a letter even when we know we don't plan on going any further, that yes, we could theoretically file a lawsuit, but it's just not worth doing that. But I'll send a threatening letter implying that bad things are going to happen. So that's how I ended the meeting with this particular client. I said, okay, what I'll do is I'll put together a threatening letter and I'll send you a copy of it, and I'll discharge you for my time for today and writing the letter. I left my office, I closed the folder and put it on the upper right-hand corner of my desk and started a meeting with another client. And then after that, another client. And then I had a partner come into my office and demand that I start doing some work for them. Long story short, I forgot entirely about that first client. Never gave them another thought. A week or so later, I get a phone call from that client. Hey, John, whatever happened to that letter? Did you ever send it out? And I looked on the upper right-hand corner of my desk, and there was the folder. Now, I could have lied. I could have said, well, we decided we needed to look at it a little more in depth, and I've been doing a little bit of research. Now, I'm not going to charge you for the research, but I just wanted to make sure we were doing the right thing before we sent it. I could have lied, but I didn't. I decided that the best thing to do was to just plain old be ethical and truthful. And I said, Mr. Johnson, I'm going to be very truthful with you. I got very busy and I forgot entirely about what I had told you I would do. I'm sorry. Now, what I got on the phone from the other side was dead silence for what seemed like forever. And then finally, the client said, that was refreshingly honest. Would you please do it? I'm not angry at you. I'm glad that you told me the truth, but would you please do it? And I said, I will do it right now. And then I did it. But I ended up with a client for life because they gave me credibility. They thought my professionalism was top notch. Okay. These are things that you need to do when you're communicating. Being ethical and being honest, I believe, are very important. Okay. Now, a lot of people don't believe that. I've seen, lies in communication that were, that were extraordinary. I had, there was one company that I worked for, the company manufactured industrial shelving. And we ended up in a very busy time, and our salesmen were selling quicker than we had the ability to manufacture. And the salesmen were promising delivery dates that were just impossible. So we had one large order that was being made, but it was behind because of the fact that we didn't have the ability to keep up with the orders. And the customer called in extremely angry. "Where's my order? I need that order. Where are my racks?" And the salesman said, "I have to tell you this. I was about to call you, but yeah, we did manufacture everything. We got everything painted and stacked up and put on the truck, and it was to be delivered to you. And it is wintertime out there, and the truck ended up in a snowstorm, and the driver lost control, jackknifed the semi, and it ran off the road, and it rolled over. There was a rollover accident, and all of your rack was ejected from the trailer, and it was all damaged. So we've gathered it all together and brought it back to the manufacturing plant here, and we're in the process of repairing and redoing the parts that were too damaged, and we'll get it shipped out to you next week." Now, nothing bad ever happened other than the customer felt so bad about the fact that our truck driver was in an accident. They actually sent a gift to the truck driver, a get well gift to the truck driver, who was never in an accident, you understand. But I thought that was a terrible way to do business. So you will get caught. It will end up costing you some of your reputation. Try to be honest. Try to be professional. Managing your time wisely and using resources efficiently, and using critical thinking, which is the ability to evaluate evidence completely and objectively in order to form logical conclusions and make sound recommendations. Okay. So once again, in these things that we are saying every employer wants from you, how much of that was communication? A lot of it was communication. One more thing before I move on to something entirely different. Still staying in the textbook. The textbook points out that in your organization, there are going to be official channels of communication. Okay, so we're not talking about, well, put it this way. There's three types of communication. There's downward communication, there's upward communication, and there is horizontal, what I'll call lateral communication. Downward communication is just what you think it is. It's the superiors talking to their subordinates, giving orders. I need this done. You are to do this. You are my employee. I'm ordering you to do something. Upward communication is when it's the subordinate reporting up to a superior. Now, upward can go to your direct superior. It can theoretically also go above that to your boss's boss. Oh, and also understand that there's a very good chance that whatever you give your boss may end up on his boss's desk. So there's a good chance that the work that you do can end up a couple of levels above you. And I'll talk about that in a minute. And then horizontal communication is communication between people who are on a like standing or importance in the company, from department to department, from peer to peer, if you will. Just another example of how you have to be really aware of what's going to happen with your communications, because once it leaves your control, it takes on a life of its own. Once again, when I was working at that law firm, and one of the things that I did is I worked for the guy that ran our bankruptcy department. I did a lot of work for him. He was a pretty important partner because he had a lot of business, a lot of bankruptcies at that particular time in history. And I did a lot of his research and I did a lot of his grunt work, so to speak. But one day he had told me that he wanted me to go through one of the bankruptcy files and he wanted me to pull something out. And I can't remember exactly what the assignment was, but I had the file in front of me and I was paging through it, looking at all the different things that were in there. And I came across a letter that he had written to the client. And I stopped and I read it. It was from, the partner, and it was to the client, and it went through and outlined all of the legal aspects, every single little legal aspect that was involved in the case that we were talking about. Here were the issues that you had. Here were the laws that applied to the situation. Here are things that we could possibly do to remedy the situation. Here are the dangers in doing that. I looked at that letter that the partner had written, and I was just blown away at how well it was done. I was looking at it and thinking, wow, that's why he's the partner, because he just did such a wonderful job with this letter to the customer. And then I turned to the next document, and the next document was a memo that I had sent to the partner outlining all of the aspects of the case that we were talking about. And then I realized, by turning the 2 pages and holding them next to each other, all he did was take all of the prose, all of the body of the memo that I had sent to him, and put it on the letterhead and signed his name to it. That happens. That happens a lot. Now, was it right that he took all the credit? Well, it was his client. I don't have a problem with that. I got paid to do it. So once again, I shouldn't feel too bad about this. But understand, there is always a chance that you're going to have somebody take your work, possibly put their name on it and take it up the ladder. Or better yet, or even scarier yet, take your work with your signature on it still and take it up the ladder, a layer, or maybe even 2 layers up, depending on how important something is. So understand that. That's, you have no idea where your communication is going to end up. All right, let me just double check something here. Okay. What I want to do is I want to move away from the book for a moment, because 2 things that I want to do. First thing, I do want to give you your next assignment, and I have to actually create this in Moodle yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the assignment. I'll create the Moodle Dropbox later today, so don't do it too quickly. But in business communications, one of the things we're going to spend some time on right here at the beginning is the formal business letter. And so we're going to spend a lot of time talking about what the format of a formal business letter looks like, because it has a very specific look. There are rules as to what the letter looks like. Okay, and we're going to talk about them. And I'm going to suggest to you that you pay attention to the format that I'm going to give you, because most of the points you're going to lose in your writing are going to be because you didn't follow the rules of what it is supposed to look like. Kamalchak, why is that so important? You know why it's so important? Because people expect to see things in a certain format. If you vary from that format, your communication looks funny. It doesn't look professional. I don't know who decided this. I don't know who got together, who had the power to do this, but there are rules, very specific rules as to what a formal business letter needs to look like. We're going to go over that because we're going to have an assignment for a formal business letter very shortly. However, the next fun assignment, that is also just a 10-point assignment. By the way, thank you for all the emails. I haven't had a chance to read all of them yet. I will, and then I will grade them and post grades for them. But that once again was only a 10-point assignment. Second assignment is for you to create your own letterhead. Okay, I want each of you to have a letterhead that you're going to use for all of your writing for this point forward. Okay, so what is a letterhead? Okay, so if you have any communication from a business, you realize that they have a letterhead. They have their name at the top. Now, if we go back to grade school or high school writing of what a letter looks like, you're going to have your return address on that letter, right? It's going to be against the right margin. It's going to not have your name, but it'll have your address, number and street, city, state, zip code, and then date. Those are the rules for a personal letter. The return address, upper right-hand side of your page. I don't want that, because this is going to be a formal business letter. All of your letters in your professional life are going to be written under a letterhead. And so that's what I want you to do. And I want to see, I wonder if I have my letterhead in this computer. Give me a second. Oops, I can't do that. All right. So let's see, what can I do? I can minimize it this way, and I can get out of this, and I can get out of this. I can move this. Let me see if I have my letterhead on the computer. I'll show you what my letterhead looks like. Yeah, there you go. It'll take me a second to get everything back in line here. All right. So of course, you guys realize that I do still have a law office that I run in addition to teaching at Thiel College. And this is the letterhead for my business. Okay, my name is up there, and that is my title, John E. Gomulchak, Esquire. And I used a fancy font to set it apart from just normal text. And I have it in a very large font. Let's see, what is that? That is size 20. It's a 20 font. And then below that, I have the other information as to how to contact me. So if you look at that, maybe I need to expand it a little bit for you guys. So that's my name and my title, John E. Gomulchak, Esquire. And then I have my contact information. That's the address for my office, 3854 Walker Boulevard, Erie, Pennsylvania, 16509. And then I have my telephone number there. So that's actually, that's my cell phone number. I've started using my cell phone as my business number. And then I have my email address there. Okay, so I've given you 3 ways to contact me with this information. So if you look at the information that's in a letterhead, it's all about giving the reader the ability to contact you. Okay, so first thing there, I identified myself. With that information that I have across there, you know who I am and you know what I am. You know that I'm a lawyer. Below that, I've given you the ability to mail me a letter. That is my post office address where I receive my mail. So if you wanted to send me any kind of communication by any kind of carrier service, United States Post Office or UPS or FedEx or whoever, that's the physical location of my office. Additionally, if you wanted to come and see me, if you wanted to have an office conference with me, I've given you the physical location of my office so you can find me. Okay, below that, and this is only the 3rd line, I've given you the ability to call me. There's my telephone number. Call me if you need me. And there is my email address. So we do a lot of communication by email in today's world. Okay, so that, and if you look, I'm going to take this back to smaller. Okay, that's what it looks like on the page. It doesn't take up a tremendous amount of space on the page. it's 3 lines. And I have an ego, so my name is bigger than everything else up there. So I had that in a 20 font. The next line, the address is in a 10 font, which is smaller than a normal font. And below that, the telephone number and email are in an 8 font. Okay, so it's legible if you want to read it. It doesn't take up a tremendous amount of space because I still want to be able to use this page to communicate with, okay? But by using that silly little 3 lines up there, I've given you what I said, 3 different ways to contact me, plus I have introduced myself, okay? I particularly like having it centered at the top of the page. Now, I have seen people do other things with their letterheads. I've seen, I had at one point, the law firm that I worked for, they had the name of the firm up here, which is the Quinn Law Firm, and the address and the contact information. And then they had the list of the attorneys running down, I think it was the left margin, in order of seniority, so you knew who worked at the firm and how important they were actually. I've seen people use all kinds of graphics up here. If I wanted to, at one version of my letterhead years ago, I had the scales of justice there. Okay, they were cool. I don't want it anymore. Right now, I want mine. I just want it to be very simple, plain, and clean. It doesn't have to be any more than that. So your assignment for next Tuesday is to create your own letterhead. Just go into Microsoft Word and be creative. This is your opportunity to be creative. Once again, this is a 10-point assignment. We're just sort of getting you into being able to do these things. It's a very low risk assignment. Nothing bad is going to happen to you. Even if you don't do it, nothing bad is going to happen to you, other than the fact that we're going to use this the rest of the semester. So make it so that you have a tool, and then save it on your computer so that you can use it for the formal business letters that we're going to be using as we move forward from here. All right, so I stopped sharing. What I really want to do next is the assignment that's going to happen, that's the first real assignment, is a cover letter for a job application. Okay, now the question you're going to ask is a cover letter even really appropriate or needed anymore? When I was a youngster and I was trying to apply for my first job out of college, I went to the stationery store and I bought fancy paper with a watermark. I made sure that I had the proper font in my typewriter. Yes, typewriter. And I sat down and I typed these things out and tried to make them look as good as they could. And you didn't apply for jobs online because, once again, I'm just going to show my age. The internet didn't exist when I graduated from college. There was no such thing as online applications, no such thing as online searches. So back then, yeah, you had an envelope, you had a sheet of paper with your resume on it, you had a sheet of paper with your cover letter, and that's how you applied for a job. In today's world, you don't do that, do you? You're not going to apply for a job by, licking an envelope and licking a stamp and tossing it into a mailbox, are you? Almost everybody is doing this online today, and I'm not going to argue with that. And now the question is going to become, is the cover letter still important? And the answer is yes. The cover letter is still important. Now, let me see if I got something on that. Give me a second. I'm surprised what stuff I've got. That's not what I wanted. Fall classes, here we are. me 1 second. I have to slide back into last year's information. I need to go to fall 2021. Here we go. Are cover letters even necessary? This was a article that I had seen. One of the interesting things that happens is the writers, the authors of our textbook, because I subscribe to the textbook, so to speak, I get a lot of information from them, links to articles and such. Hopefully I can actually do this. Okay. Finally, an answer. Are cover letters still necessary? Does anyone still read cover letters? In a 2020 survey of 236 hiring managers and recruiters, ResumeGo found that 87% of the respondents read cover letters. Only 13% did not. I got similar answers in my own research. The overwhelming majority of recruiters and hiring managers that I heard from, folks who work across career functions and industries, told me they still do read cover letters in some capacity. The most common answer I got is that they would read cover letters for all qualified applicants. For any candidates they were considering moving to the next step in the hiring process, for any candidates who are on the border of being moved forward, or for any candidates whose resumes raised questions for them. So if you're submitting to any opening you come across and apply for a manager level position as an entry level candidate, or upload a teaching focused resume for an accounting job, don't be surprised if your cover letter gets skipped for the most part. This does mark a shift in how hiring professionals use cover letters. Traditionally, the cover letter was the cover page for your resume, hence the name. So its purpose was to convince the reader to look at your resume. Now, your resume usually, although not always, gets looked at first, and your cover letter is there to further persuade the reader to move you to the next round in the hiring process. So while cover letters are serving a different purpose now, they are still being read and considered. Now, I'll post this article out there for you if you want to read it. But I think that it's very informative that, yes, cover letters are necessary, but it's not everybody's cover letter that is going to be read. But if you're going to get the job, your cover letter will be read. So I can stop sharing. So basically, you have to have a good cover letter to get the job. What they said was they're going to look at your resume, and if they think you've got enough education or experience or whatever it is that was in your, excuse me, that was in your cover letter that made them interested in you, they will now look at your resume that made them interested in you. They will then look at your cover letter. What are they going to get out of your cover letter? Are they going to get more information? Is there something that's in your cover letter that's not in your resume? No, not at all. What's the one thing that they're going to be able to get out of your cover letter? How well you communicate, right? The resume is just a list of stuff. You don't even have to use full sentences if you don't want to. It's just a list of your accomplishments. Your cover letter actually shows that you know how to write. Think about that. Think about what the hiring process is. You have a company. You have the need for an employee. You want an employee that's going to be honest. You want an employee that's going to be hardworking. You want an employee who has the skills necessary to do the job. And you want an employee who can communicate. They will put you through interviews. they may put you through testing processes. One of the big employers where I live is Erie Insurance. And if you want the job at Erie Insurance, you have to take a personality test. Companies have no qualms about forcing you to take various and sundry tests. If you want to apply for a job at Erie Insurance, even if it's not an office type job, you have to take a typing test. They want to know how many words per minute you can type. So they'll test you. Guess what? Your cover letter was the first test. Don't flunk it. Okay. Now, that being said, how much time do I have? I have, what, 8 minutes? All right, I'll show you what we're going to do, and then maybe we'll just stop there. Give me a second. I got to go back into Moodle. Actually, I have to get back into the right year. I posted this out on Moodle as one of the resources at the very top of the page. I want to share it with you. I don't want it to be 2 pages. How can I change that to view 1 page? There we go. Now let's make it big enough so we can actually see it. Whoa, that's way too big. All right, give me a chance to get back to Zoom. All right, share screen. I'm going to help you guys get jobs. I'm going to teach you how to look for a job. What I've posted here is a legitimate job opening. This is a job posting advertisement from Amazon for a management position at Amazon. This is not just a manager position at Amazon. This is what do they call it? An entry-level position. So they're not looking for anybody with any experience. The only requirement is that you have a degree. You have to have graduated from college. Now, this particular job is to be a team leader in a fulfillment center. Now, I don't know if anybody really wants this job. It pays $60,000 a year. It's full-time with benefits, but Amazon tends to burn out its employees, its workers. But we have 6 minutes left. Let's just read what they want. Next class, what we'll do is we'll start up and we'll tear this apart to figure out what you need to do in order to get this job. All right, full job description: a bachelor's or master's degree with a conferral date between May 2020 and August of 2022. This role will start between January 2022 and September 2022. This is a full-time position. Amazon is looking for high potential leaders who are ready to own their impact on Amazon operations as an entry-level manager. As a people manager, you will have an opportunity to truly invest in others and develop a collaborative leadership style while utilizing the tools, processes, and operations that have helped create the most customer-centric company on earth. If you want to be involved in continuing to define the future of online retail, are energetic and an organized self-starter, apply to join our team in Amazon operations as an area manager. Amazon provides extensive training and development for entry-level managers to learn to become exceptional people leaders. Come learn how the largest online retailer in the world runs its fulfillment and delivery networks. A day in the life. As an area manager, you will have the opportunity to coach and develop your own team of Amazon associates in a distribution warehouse environment. Your main focus will be motivating, mentoring, and managing your team. As a people manager, you will ensure that the team of Amazon associates have all the tools needed to succeed for any task during a shift. What is fulfillment, you ask? Fulfillment is how we refer to completing or fulfilling a customer's Amazon.com order and the act of picking, packing, shipping, and delivering their order to meet or exceed their expectations. Our operations workflow can be broken into 3 major lanes. First mile, where the product is housed and ready for your order. Second mile, where your order is hauled to your area. And last mile, where the product is delivered to your door. Please note that all lanes have slight building variations, but one thing is constant: our vision and dedication to the customer. Location and placement. The position is not a corporate role and will be located in a fulfillment center, sort center, delivery station, or other warehouse environment. Must be willing to relocate at time of hire. Position location is most heavily weighted on business need, but will also take into account personal location preference. Key responsibilities: coach, manage, and develop a team of 50 to 200 Amazon associates. Communicate policies to your team and act as the primary information source for the team, maintaining compliance, consistency, and taking corrective action when needed. Create, manage, and support recognition programs. Support all safety programs and OSHA compliance to ensure a safe work environment for all associates. Ensure procedures are followed for building security and product loss prevention. Partner with the management team to establish and maintain quality control standards, develop performance goals and targets to achieve customer demand and ensure accuracy and quality. Job elements: must be able to perform the following tasks with reasonable accommodation. Stand or walk for up to 10 to 12 hours. Walk in and around the warehouse with great frequency. Many facilities are over a quarter mile in length. Willing and able to work any permanent shift that may include overnights, weekends, holidays, and overtime. Access all areas of building, ascending and descending ladders, stairs, and gangways safely and without limitation. Regularly bend, lift, stretch, and reach both below the waist and above the head. Lift and move items up to 49 pounds. Strong communication skills, both verbal and written. Adept at the ability to motivate others in a deadline-focused environment. Ability to evaluate and dive deep into data to provide thought-provoking, workable business solutions. Provide track records of taking ownership and driving results. Currently enrolled in or recently graduated with a bachelor's or master's degree in supply chain, business, STEM, or another related field. Ability to thrive in an ambiguous environment. Applicants who apply for this job will allow Amazon to process your application in a centralized hiring system that considers you for other similar openings as well. Amazon is committed to diverse and inclusive workplace. Amazon is an equal opportunity employer and does not discriminate on the basis of race, national origin, gender identity, sexual orientation, protected veteran status, disability, age, or other legally protected status. For individuals with disabilities who would like to request an accommodation, please visit us at this particular address. For Colorado-based jobs, this position starts at $60,000 per year. A sign-on bonus and restricted stock units may be provided as part of the compensation package. In addition, a range of medical, financial, and/or other benefits depending on the position offered. For more information regarding Amazon benefits, please visit www blah, blah, blah. Applicants should apply via Amazon's internal or external career site. Pursuant to the San Francisco Fall Chance Ordinance, we will consider for employment qualified applicants with arrest and conviction records. Pursuant to the Los Angeles Fair Chance Ordinance, we will consider for employment qualified applicants with arrest and conviction records. This was posted by Amazon. This is more than 30 days ago. I used this last year, but I'm sure this job is out there still. Now, whole point. First off, I want you to take a look at how that was written. And what we're going to do on Tuesday is we're going to tear that apart and find out what is it they're looking for. Because see, one of the things I want to teach you is I want to teach you how to read also, because being able to read and discern what somebody is saying is also a communication skill. You now know everything there is to know about who they want in that job. They have told you. It was 3 pages of what they told you, but they told you exactly who they're looking for. Can you be that person? We're going to look, we're going to see. All right. Any questions? Anybody have anything that they need to add? If not, we're good. Tuesday's class will still be remote. My son is still in the hospital. We don't have a discharge date as of yet, so I'm anticipating that I will still be in my beautiful, wonderful, tropical Pittsburgh hotel on Tuesday. So if that changes, I will give you an email, but assume we're going to be remote on Tuesday. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.